Hello everyone, this screencast is designed to walk you through the steps of completing the DBQ essay if you still need to go over them, and for some of you who may have missed some of those classes. We started with the DBQ graphic organizer and the questions. You ended up answering some of these questions that went along with the DBQ PDF that we looked at, and another thing that we did with the essay was we started with this graphic organizer. I have a PDF of the graphic organizer. This is the work that we did in class. Essentially, we determined that all of the documents were secondary sources. We talked about how they were outsider point of views and from what century many of these opinions came from. Again, seeing as that they were all secondary sources, we were all hearing from historians. Most of the historians we heard from talked about and focused on the internal factors of Rome's fall, with one map at the end really focusing on the external factors. Generally speaking, we define the external factors as overexpansion, problems with the military, shortage of children, lack of loyalty from citizens, incompetent leaders, and excluding ordinary citizens from politics. The external factors included invasions and Christianity, although Christianity could also be seen as an internal factor. With both, we talked about high taxes, corruption, unemployment, and the failure to defend itself of the empire. So again, we have this document that you all focused on. This is just basically a PDF of many of the things we talked about in class. So when you get to the essay, we also talked about the layout for the essay itself. And you're going to create and talk about what caused the empire to fall. Your introduction and thesis will start things off. Then you'll focus on internal and external factors in paragraph 2. You'll focus on internal and external factors in paragraph 3. We talked about the difference between political, social, and economic factors and which ones you felt, in your opinion as a historian, were the most important. So whichever one you decide, or two that you decide are most important, however you break them down, you want to put that in paragraph 3. You don't want to ignore the factors that you don't think are as important because they still contributed to Rome's downfall. So you want to include them in your initial body paragraph, but your last body paragraph is the one that's really going to talk about your argument. In your conclusion, you're basically going to reinforce your argument, talk about historical context, and think about further evidence. I have one other document for us to look at, which basically talks about the opening paragraph. And in the opening paragraph, you want to talk about, make a general statement about empires, not the Roman Empire specifically, but just a general statement about empires and what are some of the reasons that they fall, because all empires that we study in history sooner or later fall. Then you're going to focus on internal and external factors that allow them to fall and how these internal and external factors can be categorized as either social, political, or economic. Again, these are just general statements that lead your reader into what you're going to get at as far as your argument is concerned. Then you hit them with your argument. The Western Roman Empire fell because we decided internal factors, because that was the focus of the sources that we had, that were primarily, and then you're going to decide, were they primarily social, were they primarily political, were they primarily economic, or were they primarily some combination of two of these three? So once you do that, then again, your first body paragraph is going to focus on whichever one you don't think is the most important. Your third body paragraph will focus on the one you think is the most important. And then remember your conclusion, getting back to this document, sorry, I'm jumping around here. In your conclusion, you want to make sure that you're reinforcing whatever your argument is. If your argument is saying it's political factors, reinforce that and maybe throw in another piece of evidence. As far as historical context, you want to mention some other empire in history that also fell because of whatever factors you've decided were the ones that contributed to Rome's fall. As far as further evidence is concerned, you basically, in your conclusion, want to reference the shortcomings of your research And the shortcomings we decided collectively in class were the fact that we only have one external factor document. So you'd need to see more external factors, something that would talk about external factors more than the internal factors. The other thing we noticed in our sources were that they were all secondary. So hearing from primary sources, from the actual citizens of Rome, if we had any primary sources, that would be helpful. Keep in mind, you don't have to find them or cite them or source them in any way. You just have to mention that that's one of the shortcomings of the essay, that you were limited on the sources that you had to use. So that's it for now. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.